Roger.
Hello. What are you doing on Sammo's bike?
Oh, I'm buying it off me.
Buying it?
Well, you give me it on a week's trial. Do you want to ride?
Yeah, that's Sammo's bike, innit?
Yeah, I'm buying it off him.
But why is Sammo selling it if he's only just got it? She's staying the night at my house, so can she come? Well, all right, she can come. But don't tell anyone else. I won't. And you can't bring anyone else, otherwise it'll be all girls. And that's some boys I can ask. No, I don't want you asking anyone else. I don't even want you to tell anyone else about it. Otherwise they'll all be trying to gate crash. Okay, thanks. Oh, hi. Didn't hear you come in. Hi. I'm interested in your head. Well, for now anyway. Did your dad tell you? Yeah. And Baxter's acting as deputy. I'm sorry about your mum. Oh, that's all right. Sure applies, I suppose. I mean about my dad. What about your dad? Who didn't she tell you? No? What? It was my dad who stopped her getting appointed. Why? Well, just because he's like that. He thinks the head of sport ought to be a man. Do you know something? Your dad's a real... That's what I think. Your mum would make a fantastic head of sport. I'm sorry. And it doesn't matter about the party. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I can't come round your house now, can I? Not after this. Why? It'll be a bit embarrassing, won't it? Me and your mum. Of course you can come round. My mum's not going to blame you. She's not like that.
Le fruit espérais-tu de tant de violence? Tu frémiras d'horreur de se rompre le silence.
Comment direz-vous qui ne sait de grandir?
What is so extraordinary about Animal Farm is that it's a parable not only for what was happening and was to go on happening in the Soviet Union, but also for what was to happen in most of the emergent nations of Africa, Asia, South America.
Well, let's think about it.
I mean, I can see that if I owe 20p, that's 1 is 20. And then I double it, that's multiplied by +2. And then I owe you 42.
You can see from this chart, pay attention please, Lizzie, that the life expectancy of a working class man who lived in the town was half that of a labourer living in the country.
17? Is that what they lived till?
Well, a lot of them died very young.
They can't all have died at 17, miss.
Well, no, not all of them did. This is an average life expectancy. And you have to remember that the large...
Tell us where it is in this party.
Donna, what are you doing? Well, turn around and face this way. Danny, why are you moving your chair toward the other group?
The lesson sounds interesting.
Well, perhaps if you concentrated on this lesson, you'd find that this one was interesting too. Move your chair back. Now, suppose you tell me why it was that the poor in the 19th century cities died so young. We've been reading about conditions in the factories, housing. Why might they have died young? Danny, I'm waiting for you to answer me.
Come on, you two. Get on with some work. This is a maths lesson, not Friday night at the youth centre.
Danny, I'm still waiting for an answer.
Didn't hear the question, miss.
Of course you heard the question. I wanted to know why it was that the poor people died so young in the cities during the 19th century.
Didn't know they did.
Then where have you been all lesson? What on earth do you think we've been reading about?
Can't hear what we're reading, miss. There's too much noise in here.
Rubbish, absolute rubbish. You just haven't been paying attention.
Miss, I keep hearing Sir over there. He's got a louder voice than you.
Well, nobody else seems to have that problem.
I do. I can't hear.
You're another one who doesn't pay attention. Too busy nattering to your friends. Danny, where are you going to now?
Miss, I need to go to the toilet.
Oh, no, you don't get out of it that easily. I asked you a question and you still haven't answered. Sit down. Everybody's waiting, Danny.
Miss, what's the point in waiting for Danny? He can't help it if he didn't hear. It is difficult to hear with all these other lessons going on.
Anthony, when I want your advice on how to run my lessons, I shall ask for it.
Are you having trouble with my form, Miss Partridge?
No, it's all right.
I have had a great deal of trouble with this boy myself. Go and sit with my group, Jones.
I wasn't even doing anything.
Mr. Bronson, I think you've made a mistake. Anthony isn't being any trouble.
Are you sure, Miss Partridge?
Of course I'm sure. I think I'm more likely to know what's going on in my history lesson than you are, Mr. Bronson.
Well, if you are quite certain you can manage.
I'm quite certain, thank you. Anthony, You're going to tell me why it was that the poor people died in the cities so young?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it was overcrowded housing, miss. And no proper toilet facilities. And all the rubbish and the slops thrown in the street. So, there were all these germs and epidemics and stuff. Oh, and they worked these terribly long hours, miss. So they were exhausted all the time. And they didn't earn much. So they didn't have a very good diet. And the factories were hot and damp, so they got...
Sixth formers, and I cannot even turn my back for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Anthony. Now, can anybody tell me why people began to live longer toward the end of the century?
Right. We can get another lot on top of those cupboards. People aren't going to be able to reach them up there. Yes, they are. Same as we get them up there with a ladder. Now, Baldy, they should be in this crate here.
OK, I'll get up here. And you can pass them up to me, OK?
Oh, now, hang on. Let's make sure that they're in right order. Otherwise, people won't be able to find anything.
What on earth? I told you to put the books in boxes and put them in the cupboard over there.
I didn't think people would be able to borrow them if they're in boxes, miss.
Well, of course they can't borrow them. This is the art room. I'm only storing them.
But that means there'll be no library, miss.
Yes, it does. Of course it does. But what do you expect when we lose the use of an entire building? You can't expect life to go on as if nothing had happened.
But we need a library, miss.
Yes, I'm sure you're right, Janet. But this is my art room. Now, please, just put those books back in the boxes and put them in the cupboard. And in future, don't move my art materials around without asking my permission.
I told you she wouldn't remove this stuff. I don't know what she's going about. I mean, the library's far more important than the art room.
I wouldn't mind, but you didn't interfere with Peter King's class.
Because he's a man.
Too right. I felt like pointing out I am head of the 3rd year.
You heard what happened to me. How Martin Glover ruined my chances.
Yes, it's disgusting. He's a horrid little man.
I can't run a library out of an art room, Jeff.
Of course you can't. There'll be paint all over the books in no time.
Can't you not use paint for a couple of weeks? Stick to drawing instead.
Oh, no, not you two. I just had that line from Janet Sinclair. None of you think art's important, do you? I mean, why not have the library in one of the physics labs?
Come on, Virginia. Nobody's saying art isn't important. Just that at times like these, we all have to make compromises.
Yeah, it's just that some of us have to make more than others.
Not so. We are all carrying on under the most impossible conditions. 4 classes being taught in the hall at the one time.
It's bad.
Whatever happened to the Dunkirk spirit, eh?
Come on, Jeff.
I never understand why people always hark back to Dunkirk. Dunkirk was a defeat.
I mean, I thought we British were supposed to thrive on adversity.
Men.
I've had enough, Jeff. We can't go on teaching in these conditions. It's not fair on the kids.
I think the school should be closed until the authority come up with new premises.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have asked them. There was some talk of reopening the old St Mary's Primary.
Well, I don't see why they don't open the old Brookdale building.
Oh, come on, where have you been? Brookdale's halfway to becoming a multi-storey car park.
St Mary's. That'll take the pressure off a bit.
How soon could it be arranged?
Yeah, well, hold on. There's nothing definite about it. As per usual, it all boils down to money. We can only do it if the local authority agree to finance us out of their contingency fund.
There's much chance of that as them putting up a new building, isn't there?
Oh, come on, I wouldn't say that. But if the money's not there...
If the money's not there to house this school in adequate premises, I'm getting on to the NUT.
Oh, come on, Chris, be fair. And I know it's only temporary, but they have agreed to supply us with 4 porter cabins.
But how long is that going to take?
They're ordered. We're doing our best.
Porter cabins are nothing. We need them and St Mary's Primary.
We are doing our best, Chris. We really are.
We'll get by, somehow.